BioWare, BioWare's having some issues again. Because they just Nate, you know what I'm talking about here, right? With this case. Yep. So we have BioWare, and BioWare is currently still working on Anthem 2.0. Did people forget about, like, I actually kind of forgot about Anthem, and part of one of the articles that was written, I think it was by Forbes, was like, yeah, they're still working on Anthem 2.0. And I was like, wow, they really are. I forgot about that game.
It's supposed to be a big deal.
Dude, they couldn't even take down the Christmas lights until February, and they want me to think that's a big deal for Anthem 2.0.
Hey, a lot of people don't take down their Christmas lights until February.
What? Casey Hudson, Mark Dara are leaving. They're leaving the studio.
That's not a good sign.
That is a very bad sign. Mark had been there for 20 something years since the 90s, right? It's been a long time. Casey Hudson, though, left, I think in 2014, went to Microsoft, then came back in 2017, I believe, to help launch Anthem, which that was a good idea. But now they're gone. And you know what was weird? If you read through they both put out statements talking about how they're leaving BioWare. And like in one of them, I think it was from Mark, he was like, can't wait to see how Dragon Age turns out. It'd be really cool to see what that actually ends up being. I'm like, dude, weren't you working on that?
I think I'm supposed to get another trailer at the Game Awards.
They're doing a trailer at the Game Awards, and I saw that, and I said, is it going to be like what they did last time, where they just showed some slides, and it was super like vague, and it was like, I think that was Dragon Age, we're not sure. And then we get the backstory that apparently that wasn't even supposed to be shown at the Game Awards last year.
It wasn't even approved. They basically slid it in to force EA to let them make it.
What?
Yes. Yeah,
it was like it wasn't even greenlit yet, and they're like, "But if we announce it, they can't cancel it on us."
Yikes!
I mean, they can. They can. I mean, on them. They could be like, "Yeah, it's coming, guys." They're like, "Oh, development problems. It's canceled. Sorry."
Yeah, they basically did be like, "Now you have to let us make it, because if you don't, you look like idiots, like you sneaky bastards."
What?
Wow.
Wow. That's like, isn't that like? That's like mutiny or so. What is that? I'm not thinking of the word right now. Like, what the hell is that? Like, you can't do that.
You can. They did. It's not right.
Smart. It's smart play. I mean, to be honest, you play the pity vote.
No, a lot of people could get in trouble. But
yeah,
I'm sure they did.
Like, you can get in trouble. Like, but how long till BioWare is done? Like,
so that's the big question now.
Yeah, like,
because they're apparently they're starting up a new Mass Effect game. That project's kicking off. I guess maybe that's why Casey left now, because they're like, well, I'm not gonna be there when this starts up. I'm not gonna be there to see through it, so I'm out. And I assume their new Mass Effect project's starting up now. I almost wonder if EA, if like Anthem 2.0 doesn't work and then Dragon Age is bad, is there any reason for them to keep BioWare anymore and not just spin off one of the studios and call it something else and then have them finish or work on Mass Effect and then dissolve BioWare?
I try to sell BioWare if there's still value in the name and even some of the IP, but at this point, I mean, Mass Effect really hurt itself with Andromeda.
Yes.
Dragon Age, the releases are so few and far between that it doesn't have that level of hype when the series was first introduced and everyone was excited for like Dragon Age 2, and Inquisition kind of pissed off a lot of people.
I think 2 pissed off more people.
No, 2 pissed off people. Inquisition people liked.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the games that made them famous, like KOTOR, that's just a shell of their past now.
Why won't they just make a new KOTOR? Not the online, not the MMORPG one. That's fine and all, but like an actual new KOTOR.
Yeah, like even Jade Empire. The things that made them famous, they no longer make. They don't even make that style of game. Look at the original Mass Effect, like Mass Effect 2. They shifted towards more of an action-oriented style instead of going, that RPG route with sci-fi. It's tough for BioWare. I think it's still valuable if they could be bought, let's say, by Microsoft again, just as a company, and just say, you guys are going to start ground level. Let's rebuild you again.
I wouldn't mind that, actually, if Microsoft came in and picked them up, because I feel like Microsoft would at least like they'd get some freedom to do some different things away from.
Please go back to Microsoft.
I'd be okay with that, actually.
Ever since EA, ever since Mass Effect, I mean, I loved Mass Effect 2. The storyline was brilliant, but yeah, the gameplay was definitely a step down. It was in complexity, and what they were doing. It was good. Like, the controls may be a bit tighter and stuff, and it was more solid. The frame rate was better, but a lot of the mechanics that made Mass Effect Amazing were like legitimately just like removed completely. They didn't even bring them back in one way or another.
So if this is the case,
one recently.
Hmm?
Have you played the first game recently?
I'm gonna play it when the trilogy comes up again. I'm gonna do that.
They changed stuff for the better for the second game.
No, like
That first one doesn't hold up that great. It's a great game. It doesn't hold up too well.
Like the frame rate's not as good in places, like the loading screens, but in terms of like the actual mechanics, like the depth within what you can do with each character, that's way more in depth than Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 plays way better because it's more simple. They removed so much stuff from the game. So I mean, I agree with you. Mass Effect 2 is better. I do like Mass Effect 2 more than 1. I'm just saying like they removed a lot of the cool like mechanics and stuff that you can do from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 RPG stuff. That's all.
So obviously Anthem cost them a lot of money because they're trying to revive it. I don't know if it's going to work with Anthem 2.0. They have to call it something else. Like they can't call it Anthem 2.0, can they? They have to have a different I can call it Anthem and then something. Anthem Reborn or something. I don't know. But
Anthem,
how much
we fixed it? We promise.
I mean, how much pressure then is on Anthem, this new Anthem 2.0 and then Dragon Age? Because like, if they don't do well, is that legitimately it for BioWare then? Like, because I mean, it's tough because everyone's trying to figure out a reason for them to exist, and it's like,
I mean, they're not in a good spot.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like the old BioWare was awesome.
Yes.
This new BioWare is like sketchy right now.
Yo, the old BioWare, it was so hyped that you didn't even really have to wait for the review,
Yeah.
You knew that the game was going to be amazing. It's like,
BioWare had its name on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Jade Empire. Okay. Yeah. Dope. You know what I'm saying? Like Mass Effect. They're like,
dude, the Mass Effect, when Mass Effect 2 got announced, I remember the hype level for that was through the roof.
It was huge when Mass Effect 2 was coming out.
Yeah. You were like, yeah, I'm getting the collector's edition. That works. I'm taking off work that day. I'm going to go pick it up. I'm glad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All of that. And now it's just like to the point where when we mention it, look at how we're all like,
lost a step.
Like what happened? It's
a lot happened actually.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of things
happen.
It's disappointing, and I don't really get disappointed about games, but it's like the people that work there. Like I feel bad for that. Like what happened? Like gaming's gaming. It's like whatever, but I feel bad for like the people because there was a legitimate like almost like Nintendo or Sony first party sense of quality or pride within the games, and now it's like a joke now. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, like take down the Christmas light. Yeah, it's like it's a joke now, which is upsetting.
Anthem apparently took a while to make. That was in development for a long time, from what was mentioned, and it sounded like it was so all over the place behind the scenes with management and EA coming in and saying they liked flying and then they didn't like flying and all this stuff. And I think it's gonna be a bad day online if it does end up saying EA goes, yeah, we're dissolving BioWare and we're moving this studio over here to work on the next Mass Effect.
Yeah, that'd be like the Activision moves where they bought up all those studios and they're like, yeah, now Neversoft is just gonna make Call of Duty multiplayer maps. And it's kind of like, no, don't do that. They made good games on their own. Yeah. In the case of like BioWare they had a lot of bad things happen. They're a shell of their former self, and it almost feels like because of, I don't know if it's necessarily EA, it can also be BioWare's management on its own. They looked at games like Destiny and they all started chasing games as a service.
That live service, man.
Instead of being original like they were, that made them that big renowned company that people just, BioWare's new game, I'm going to buy it. I don't need to wait for the review. They started chasing what the industry was moving towards, and that's where they lost their identity, and that's why we ended up with Anthem.
You know what? Yeah, I think you're right. I feel like anyway, this live service business I think it's really hurting some of these companies because they're just like you said, they're chasing it. The Avengers was basically just a Destiny like game. Like when you go in there, it looks like Destiny at times.
Too, John?
Their single player stuff is actually doing pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, they said the single players like it's still like really good. Like, and that's that like you said, the live service stuff, man. Like that's one of the biggest problems when everyone says they look at this and say, "Oh, I can replicate that." Like no, you don't have to. Yeah, some companies have success with it, but that doesn't mean you should, bank on live service, especially if it's going to be half-assed live service like Avengers, and the gameplay's just not good, not fun. There's barely any Avengers at all. There's barely any. There's still not any new ones.
The problem with the live service business is they expect gamers to have unlimited hours when gamers just have limited hours. Like they think you're gonna play this game every day for 3 to 4 hours a day, and it's like, well, I just finished Immortals. Now I'm gonna go work on Age of Calamity, then Cyberpunk. I'm gonna go over that, and I'm jumping between games now, and I'm not gonna fire up Immortals tomorrow. Now I'm gonna get on Age of Calamity. So it's like games like The Division 2, they really thought you were going to play that game every single day for the rest of your life almost. It felt like.
Dedicate your life to a game. Like I hate that crap. Like I'm not dedicating my life to your ecosystem. That's idiotic. It's hurt some company. Like I'm telling you, Rockstar used to put out game after game after game, and now it's like GTA Online.
And look how much money they make from GTA Online. And like Ubisoft, they took a gamble with Rainbow Six Siege. And it's paid off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's fine because I will say Ubisoft will still make several games. They keep making games. So I see where that money's going. I'm like, okay, yeah, they're investors. Rockstar doesn't make anything anymore, really. And they make a ton of money. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, they're making a lot of this money. Does that mean we get another Manhunt? Does that mean we get the next Bully? Is any of that happening?
No, because unfortunately, the more money these companies make, the more risk adverse they become. EA had basically said they only put out games that they knew were going to be a success during a certain stretch of time. Then they leaned into Anthem and they lost a lot of money.
I'm telling you, I just don't. I feel like some of the gaming industry, like the bigger, like on like the big budget, they just lost their creativity a bit. It was so much more creative in like the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era. Like there's so many weird games coming out at the time, but now it's like budgets are massive and.
Well, that's its budgets are massive now, and back then you had mid-tier development studios where you make those what we would call AA games. But even if you were a AAA publisher or developer, if you had a game that wasn't a success, it didn't destroy your company. You weren't going bankrupt. Now these games cost $100 million. The game doesn't work. You are potentially bankrupt from that one release. Back then, you could have a few misfires until you found your footing and had that big success. There's
gonna be a breaking point somewhere. There's going to be like I feel like we're getting to the point where if a game doesn't sell, like even EA will say a game doesn't sell 7 million copies, it's a failure. That's it. Like it sold 6.5. Nope, that's it. We can't do it. Whereas back then it was like the game sold 1 million copies. This is amazing. Like we just made a ton of money. This is great. Let's work on the next game. Back then
we've seen Square Enix say that. They've came out and they're like, Tomb Raider sold 5 million copies. And they said, yeah, but we were expecting 7.5 million. Yeah. This isn't meeting our expectation. 5 million copies. If that's not meeting your expectation, that's something went wrong. I mean, when we grew up, if you had 1 million copies sold, you got the N64 with the gold sticker saying 1 million copies. Like it was a rite of passage for games.
You got the really ugly Player's Choice cover.
And now it's like, hey, we sold 1 million copies, but we had to sell 10 million copies to be successful. Like, wow, like Avengers. Avengers is a mess in many ways.
I think it'll end up hitting a bubble though.
Good.
It'll hit a bubble. I think they'll kind of be like a resetting platform almost. I don't know. It's not a day I'm looking forward to, but honestly, I think there's going to be like a lot of kind of resets that happen, and we'll see where we go from there. But
I'm okay with getting back to AA games. Those mid games where it's like comes out, we play it for 10 hours. That was cool. Then we move on.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a difference, right, between like, there's the whole debate between like multiplayer is the evergreen and single player is dying out. We had that whole discussion, and now it's very obvious that the evergreen content, these games that you can just grind and grind and grind and feel like you're not really progressing or changing anything really, are like wearing down because it's like we're fatigued of that type of game. And again, that's why I think Anthem, it's just like this isn't anything new. This is not evergreen now. This is just like boring at this point. And then, like we're looking forward to these single player experiences that bring us together, that drive us and evoke emotion and have like a linear experience that we can all talk about and create discussion. I think if you're going to have an evergreen content where it's like you can play over and over, they really have to make it rewarding. They have to keep you wanting to go back. They have to keep you excited. I think that's why games like Fortnite, whether people want to, say that they like it or hate it just because, they're bad at it or they just hate Fortnite in general, they've kept it rewarding for a lot of people. They keep you wanting to go back. And that's what games that are going to be aiming like that's what they're going to have to look for, is what can we do to keep the players interested? What can we do to allow them to feel like what they're doing is going to be topped you know, by the next season or the next chapter. And, you know, it's until, you know, we're able to kind of like hit that point with a lot of developers, they're going to learn the hard way and they're going to kind of withdraw. And if they don't branch out and experiment with new things, you better hope the same thing they try to stick to somehow catches our eye, because most people are just going to not even look that direction anymore.